Hello everybody, today I want to talk about that Phantom Shogun Grove video that I put out a couple months ago. Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. So I wanted to make this video today because I have been getting a lot of comments recently on an old video that I put out for Phantom Shogun Grove. Now I still use this team on a regular basis. You can clearly see it here. This is an all rare team. I've talked about it quite a bit. I've made actually multiple videos about this on the channel, but I'm going to try to go a little bit slower today. I'll show you guys, I'll do a run on it, and then I will break down specifically the weaknesses and flaws and ways that you could accidentally screw this team up so that it might help you fix whatever issue that you are having. So it's a pretty simple team in the fact that they target my Gnarlhorn right away with that first hit. Our unkillable goes on the Gnarlhorn. Gnarlhorn is always the target because he has more crit damage than everybody else on the team. This is essential. This is not something that you can, well, his crit damage is close. No. He needs to have more crit damage than anyone else on the team. If your Coldheart has more crit damage than him, your team will fail because it will target the Coldheart, kill her because she's far more squishy, and then when he kills somebody, he does an AoE hit. These are that's one of the pitfalls to watch out for, but mostly I want to show you that the team works, and for anybody in the comment, this doesn't work, you can clearly see it works right here. You know, I'm going to try to do my best to check all the boxes and make sure I cover all the possible flaws or mistakes or issues that might be coming up, but absolutely it does work. So to say it doesn't, I mean, you can see it right here. Like, you just watched it work. So, you know, I want to be clear about that because that's one of the things that I hear all the time. And it's like, it work? What do you mean it doesn't work? You can see it. You watched it happen. And so we're going to take a look now at the speeds of each champion here. Listen up. I just got a new promo link that you can use to follow along with me on my latest free-to-play adventure and get a free Elenaril as well as 3 more powerful epics as you level up. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. Don't miss out on your chance to get Elenaril right after signing up, as well as Fayne, Uugo, and Tagoar as you progress through Raid. Click on my link right now and let's crush this together. We are going to go very, very slowly here. We're going to start with Gnarlhorn. 180 speed. Now I want to make one quick note here about this. The speeds might be a little bit different than in my previous video, and that's important to note because my previous video used my free-to-play account. I used this on both accounts, and the main reason that I did the free-to-play before was to market this as a free-to-play team, which it absolutely is. You will get void rares, a lot of them, especially if you're pulling on 2x's, which is what a free-to-play account should do. So all of those rares that are on this team, you're going to get them, and Gnarlhorn, not campaign farmable, but you should get him, you know, eventually as well. So, but this account, the speeds are just a little bit different, and some of the masteries are different. I actually have some, actually I think I have less masteries over here, but we'll look at all of that stuff so you guys know exactly what you need to do. If you match what I'm doing, you should be fine. One thing I would say is some people mention like a slight variance in speed. These can be very, very minor things if we're at the minimum threshold for speed. So for Gnarlhorn, we have 180 speed, 65,000 HP, and 2,483 defense. Now I want to go look at Gnarlhorn's actual build as well, just so you can see everything. So you can see such a hodgepodge of gear, right? I don't even have a speed set on him, or any set for that matter. None of these pieces match up, okay? Crit damage on the amulet, crit damage on the gloves, and then I'm looking for crit damage everywhere else that I possibly can. But you'll notice HP on the chest, HP on the ring, HP on the banner. Your Gnarlhorn does need a decent amount of survivability. If you go back and rewind this video and watch the playthrough that I did, you will have seen that Gnarlhorn took a pretty big hit at the beginning of the fight. Now, there's always the possibility that that could be a critical hit, which would take him to near death at the current HP that I have him at. Thankfully, it doesn't matter because once that unkillable gets applied, but you have to survive the first hit, and that's it. So that is why we have HP in all those other slots, okay? And again, if for whatever reason to get to 180 speed, you're using other speed-related sets that could slightly alter the speeds that you're looking for. For masteries, you can see 0 masteries, okay? I'm not playing around about that. You've already seen the team work. You know this is the only Gnarlhorn I have on my account except for the one that I use in the Faction Guardians, right? Yeah, so that's Gnarlhorn, okay? For the next team setup, we're going to go look at Coldheart number 1. By the way, Gnarlhorn is your lead. Gnarlhorn is your lead. This ensures that Paragon will target Gnarlhorn with the unkillable every time. You need Gnarlhorn in that lead spot, okay? So Gnarlhorn is the lead. Coldheart 1, 245 speed. Crit damage has to be less than Gnarlhorn. He's at 302. She's at 292. You can see it's very close, but her crit damage is never going to go up. You can turn off Art of Pain. That's unnecessary. In fact, it would probably hurt your run a little bit, especially if you have a higher blessing on your Coldheart, because that higher blessing with her quadruple hitter will reduce that shade counter. So you can see we have the Roman numerals 2 on that Coldheart. So if we look at my Coldhearts, that was Roman numeral 2 Coldheart. You can see we're in perception mostly to hit the speed requirement, but we do have Slayer for the crit rate, and then of course the extra crit damage. Crit damage on the amulet, but I haven't upgraded that because if I do, she might pass my Gnarlhorn, and we don't want that, right? So, and then HP on the banner, you can go, I went defense on this, in this case on the chest, or sorry, I said HP on the ring, and then defense on the banner, defense on the chest. This is for survivability. Coldheart is a squishy champion. You don't want her to take any hit. She shouldn't really take any damage at all, but, you know, still I'm going for tankiness, and that's just good for a general overall build on Coldheart. For masteries, this Coldheart does have masteries all the way through Giant Slayer. These don't real. I'll slow it down a little bit and show them to you. I'll move myself in the middle here. One thing to note is you want to avoid stuff like rapid response. I suppose Cycle of Magic is fine for Coldheart if you wanted to do that, but I had to go Lure of Steel in order to get the speed requirements that I was looking for. I do have Cycle of Violence, but this never procs because you're never going to do that much damage. But yeah, these are the masteries. I'm just showing them to you so you can see them. If you can hit the speeds without these masteries, I don't think they really matter, to be completely honest with you. Obviously, the extra crit rate and crit damage, though, from these masteries do help. And again, 245 speed, I get 69% crit rate. She only needs 70. I'm 1 under, so sometimes my runs take a little bit longer, but that is Coldheart number 1. Reliquary Tender, 284 speed. The rest of the stats don't matter that much, but of course I'm going with HP and defense. Open, always open with the A1 for Reliquary Tender. That's what this little flag means. It means you're opening with it, and then you prioritize Tender's Watch. After that, you don't even have to turn this off at all because it should not be used because no one will die. Now we can take a look at her in-depth build here. So Reliquary Tender, full speed set because I'm trying to hit somewhat high speed at 284. So we're in speed everywhere. HP, defense, HP on the neck, HP on the ring, HP on the banner, right? And just, wow, it's crazy. We hit those speeds with an HP banner without any speed on it. That I find that pretty funny, but you can tell that's how long ago I built this. This one does have masteries on it. Again, these masteries are not necessary, but it can be good for you to get Lure of Steel to hit those speed requirements. But now in Reliquary's Tender case, you need to avoid anything like Cycle of Magic, rapid response, anything that could cause you to have her cooldown go off before you intend it to, or anything that can cause her to gain turn meter so she goes out of turn. This is a very common issue. These are speed tune, very careful things to watch out for when you're dealing with speed tune teams to avoid those particular ones. Now we're on to the second Coldheart. The skill choices are the same. We have 252 speed on this Coldheart. We are also 69 crit rate, 253 crit damage. That's still under my 302 limit. When we go look at that Coldheart, this Coldheart is not Roman numeral 2. This is Roman numeral 1 Coldheart. Now she is fully blessed, but you can see, again, a mix mash of gear. We're going crit damage on the gloves, crit damage on the neck, HP on the chest, HP on the ring, accuracy, interestingly enough, on the banner. But we actually don't have a single matching set in this. We do have masteries. These are the same masteries you just saw on Coldheart, number 1. No relics on any of these champions. So yes, that is the build for Coldheart. And then lastly, Paragon. Paragon is 175 speed. We prioritize number 1, unkillable. The damage control ability. Only level 50, fully ascended, sure, but that's not necessary. Just a couple of ascension on a few of these champions should be fine. Probably partially a regen set, but again, we're trying that 175 speed, so I don't even know if I have speed on the boots. I do. Probably no speed anywhere else. We don't want crit damage anywhere because we don't want to exceed our crit damage limit. We're mostly just going HP, survivability type stuff. 0 masteries at all on Paragon. Not even a level, like this is just level 12. Why don't I level this to 16? Because if I land a speed roll, it breaks my speed tune. So we leave it level 12, okay? We don't mess with it. Yeah, this one is probably the easiest to build. Again, no masteries. I recommend that because you can get yourself into trouble by picking some of the wrong masteries that might increase that cooldown and make it go off out of rotation, or increasing the turn meter of Paragon, which would in turn cause the team to fail because he would then use his ability out of turn. So what problems have we covered for this team that you might accidentally fall into? Problem number 1 is having more crit damage than Gnarlhorn. Why does he need to have that much crit damage? Because the target for the first ability attacks the highest crit damage champion, and you want it to be Gnarlhorn, and again, he needs to be tanky enough to take that first initial hit, and then he cannot die, and he will be the target of every hit after that. So that's one pitfall I want to be very, very clear about that, because it happened to me. I accidentally raised the crit damage of one of my Coldhearts and the whole team was screwed up. Another thing that I've seen people say is like, well, I have the Reliquary Tender, the Gnarlhorn, and the Paragon. They're all your speeds. I just have different speeds for the Coldhearts. Guys, that's not how a speed tune works. If you alter the speeds of the Coldhearts, you're altering the speeds of everybody else through the turn meter process, right? Because maybe Coldheart takes 2 turns, or maybe she doesn't take a turn at all, or she goes before another champion is supposed to go. And then, if you ever noticed, if you ever look at turn meter, right? Whenever one champion takes a turn, everyone's turn meter moves, and that's based on speed. I'm not going to go too deeply into turn meter mechanics because I'm not the guy for that. I'm not going to research it and reiterate it to you guys, but you'll see all the different turn meters move on every single champion when someone takes a turn. So that's where those like multi-turn effects and abilities can cause you a problem, because that when that champion takes an extra turn, it throws off the entire sync. And if they go out of turn, it can throw off the entire sync as well. So you want to keep these speeds as close to, if not exactly to what I have. There's a little bit of wiggle room because, like I said, on my free-to-play account, I got away with slightly different speeds. You can go back and watch the old video to see what those speeds were, but the speeds that I'm showing you right now work 100% of the time. This team does not fail ever. That's one thing that can happen. Another thing that can happen is gear getting moved around on accident. You know, oh, I'm rebuilding a champion. Oh, Coldheart has this really good crit damage gloves. Let me move these. And now there goes some of your speed, and your speed tune is off again, right? That's something that can happen. Masteries, we've talked about those already. Those can throw off a speed tune. You want to be careful about those. Gnarlhorn dying early can be a problem there. You want to watch out for that as well. Another thing to watch out for is to make sure that your skills are appropriately set. So turn everything off on Gnarlhorn, including Gnarlhorn's own unkillable, right? I had a comment recently where somebody said that Paragon is no longer targeting Gnarlhorn. Should always target Gnarlhorn if he's the lead. The only thing I can guess is that he may have left on Determined, put unkillable on his own Gnarlhorn, and then Paragon says, oh, well, I won't put unkillable on myself. Then that Determined falls off before Paragon gets his cooldown back, and now you're in trouble, right? That's one thing I can think of. Not opening with A1 on Reliquary Tender will throw off the tune because she's gonna use her cleanse too early, and then you're just cooked, right? So you know, these things do matter when you're talking about this. So yeah, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to those presets as well. Another thing to watch out for, this can sometimes happen where it happens more often in Doom Tower, and I know why it happens in Doom Tower, but the team's not working for you, and you've got the speeds right, masteries are checked, your gear is checked, you've done all your due diligence, and like something isn't working. Like, for whatever reason, Reliquary Tender, when you watch, she's opening with her A2, and you're like, I don't understand. You may have potentially unchecked this and are not using the team setup version, right? So you need to be making sure that this is checked. Otherwise, they're going to use whatever abilities that they want, and they're not going to target people and do things the right way. So make sure you're keeping that box checked. That can be a really big, simple problem. Most of the issues with this team are very simple oversights, but overall, this team is absolutely wonderful. I love it. It frees up all of the champions on my roster. It's great. If you do decide to sub in other champions, again, this is the reason I love it so much. People are like, well, you could put Mithrala here. You could, but Mithrala is then locked into a speed tune, and you can't modify her speed, her masteries, right? Maybe you want cooldown reduction on her in other areas, but you wouldn't want that for this particular fight, right? So these are the things that you want to be careful of if you're putting regular champions into these roles. Paragon and Gnarlhorn are pretty much locked. Any 3-turn cleanser can be put here in place of Reliquary Tender, but she just makes the most sense because she's a rare and I don't use her anywhere else. Likewise, the 2 Coldhearts, they do enemy max HP, and at this point in the game, I don't use them anywhere else. I just flat out don't. So it's very convenient to have these 2 enemy max HP champions that also have a quad hitter that can reduce the shade counter if it gets out of control. I highly recommend doing the all rare version instead of subbing in. It will work if you use substitutes. You just have to be mindful that now they're speed tuned. Like I have an Acrisia. I could put Acrisia in this team in place of one of the Coldhearts, I think. I'm not sure about turn meter and things like that, but I run the risk of, if I want Acrisia to be a different speed or have different stats for whatever reason, well, I don't do that. Same thing with Newt, right? That kind of stuff. So just keep all that stuff in mind when you're building this team. I highly recommend the all rare version. Okay, we're getting a little long in the video. So one other thing I want to talk about is that the team that works on stage 25 with these speeds does not work on stage 24, 23, 22, 21. If you look at the speeds, you'll see these are like 5-minute runs. I had to manual these runs to get to 25. The speeds I'm giving you are for stage 25. You will need to do things a little differently to progress up to that point. I discussed that in the video. So if you're saying this team doesn't work and you got all the speeds exactly and everything, but you're on stage 19, yes, it's not going to work. You were going to need to manual it to get it to stage 25 because the speeds are for stage 25. Do I know what speeds are for 24, 23, 22, and 21? No, I do not. I manualed to get to 25, because what I looked up was a stage 25 team. So that is another common problem that you want to look out for. One thing I did do when I built this team over on the free-to-play the second time, I waited to bump up my speeds. So like I built everybody as close to this, you know, not at the exact speeds. I just built them like as fast as I could, and then I put them in here, and it worked fine. And then I hit a point where it's like, oh, this isn't working anymore, and I started to up their speeds a little bit. It worked. Didn't work anymore. Up the speed, right? And then eventually I was like, well, I'm just like, this was taking too long, so I just put everybody at the max speed and then manualed each fight. I discussed that in the video how to do it because we don't have enough time to go over it here, but essentially just make sure that Unkillable is always up on Gnarhorn. Even in that case, if you're manualing, you can use his self Unkillable to make sure that it's always up. That was the secret for me. And if Enfeeble is on your Coldhearts, don't A1. Use their A2 if you're doing it on manual, just to get to stage 25. So those are the two biggest tips I can give you in the short time that we have left. But I wanted to address a bunch of those comments because it is quite frustrating when I know the team works, and just because it didn't work for you, you think that this is nonsense, but it clearly works. I don't have any crazy things going on in the Great Hall. You can see I don't have anything for Phantom Shogun's Grove here, right? Nothing. No relics, no craziness being used. I will say that for most of the factions involved, talking Dark Elves and High Elves, Skinwalkers, I don't even have the speed, and the reason being that it would take my speed tune out of Gnarhorn, so I just don't use the speed there, the extra 3 speed. Yeah, everything else has the all 10 for the most part, right? So yeah, there's no trickery involved here, guys. All right, I'm gonna say thank you. I'm gonna end this quickly. Thanks for watching. Appreciate all of you and the support that you've been giving me. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.